Questions? Do we have any questions from? Do we have any hands raised, or do I need to come down with the mic? Yes.
I just wanted to ask about when you were talking about mental health. I just wanted to say that in my mind, there is one what you call, I'm sorry about domestic abuse I'm talking about. There is what you call physical domestic abuse, and I feel that we should also emphasize in what is called mental domestic abuse. Sometimes it's words that really hurt you much, much more than even physical abuse in that sense. So what is your opinion on that? Is mental abuse just as prevalent as, I would think in my experience, that is much more prevalent and much more detrimental to the health of the women, you know. All the time mother is being accused कि ये तुम्हारी परवरिश है, तुमने ऐसे बनाया इसको, you didn't do this to your child, you didn't raise your child properly. And they are put down in that way. There is no physical abuse, nothing. But those words are equally bad. What is your opinion on that?
I did mention that in one of my slides. So you are absolutely right. और मैं इसमें फिर इस्लाम का ही रेफरेंस दूंगी कि one thing that really surprised me कि Islam emphasizes a lot on your mental clarity. In fact, I would say Islam is one religion that if you are not mentally competent, you cannot be practicing Muslim, right? You can be born Muslim, but जब आपको practice करने के लिए आपको mental clarity और mental intact होना important है. So mental competence है. अगर हम even शरिया की तरफ जाएं, preservation of your intellect is as important as preservation of your property, preservation of your family. So preservation of akal is part of sharia, right? And जैसे anything that impairs your clarity is prohibited, so is anger. तो हमें तो इस्लाम ही कहता है कि अपनी ज़ुबान को आपने बड़ा संभाल के इस्तेमाल करना है. एंगर मना है, एंगर में आपकी रीजनिंग ख़त्म हो जाती है. एक बात तो इम्पॉर्टेंट ये है समझने की है. दूसरा, जब आपको कह दिया कि वुमन has to be celebrated, respected and revered, तो वहीं पे बात ख़त्म हो गई. How can you disrespect somebody, your wife, your mother, your sister or anyone? How can you? But unfortunately, हमारे कल्चर में इस चीज़ को समझा ही नहीं जाता. उस चीज़ को again it's the hidden abuse that और ज़ुबान का ज़र्ब तो हम कहते हैं ना कि ज़ुबान से कहा हुआ word जो है आपको it does impact your whole being. It changes your mind, it changes your emotions, it just puts you down. So again, I think बड़ा central ही बात है कि किसी किस्म की भी abuse वो अल्फाज से हो, ज़ुबान से हो, एक्शन से हो, फाइनेंसेस से हो, हर चीज़ ही
prohibited. Thank you so much.
Any other questions for our guests?
Arsha?
Yep. I don't know if, oh, it is. I thought I lost it.
Thank you so much. All of your presentations were very informative. I have a question for Dr. Prem. What support can families give to a postpartum depression?
So that's a very good question because sometimes, if the woman doesn't get the support from family, it doesn't matter how much support she gets from outside, it doesn't matter. And it starts from the partner first, right? So knowing that this woman is not just, postpartum and just recovering from it, there is a problem. In recognizing the problem is the main step, right? And when you, as a family member, recognize the problem and actually help woman understand why she's feeling like that, half of the work is done. The next step is for family to not make it as if they are unusual for some reason. I mean, if they are depressed doesn't mean there is any problem in that. It's making it like a part of being pregnant and postpartum. I consider it as a complication of pregnancy and delivery than anything else. And truly it is. So making it normal that it can happen and it's not your fault. It's not that it's something unusual about you that you are feeling like that is the most important thing. And when you do that, they feel supported, they feel validated, and they feel like, oh, this is not something wrong with me, which is the main, when I talked about rumination, guilty rumination, that is what it is. They feel guilty about feeling like that. They feel they are betraying their baby. They feel like they're betraying their family by feeling like that, right? So for you to recognize it, for you to acknowledge it, and support them is immensely necessary. And when you do that, you create a bridge to reach them. I tell you the truth, these women feel like they are on an island away from anybody, and nobody can reach them, nobody can understand them, right? And so when you reach out to them, it's very welcome. And when you support them, they're likely to get treatment, which usually they refuse, and likely to get better, right? Half of the work is done at that time. So it's immensely powerful for family to be supportive. Providing help. When I counsel, I see a lot of pregnant and postpartum women. When women come to me during pregnancy, or I'm taking care of them during pregnancy, I ask them their husbands, and sometimes their family member to come and visit me in one of their sessions, because I want them to have some support immediately postpartum. I want husband to know that they would need at least 6 hours of sleep. So having shifts of sleeping, having church members or mosque members or family members to take some responsibility of baby care when women can rest and recuperate from the arduous delivery or whatever it is very important. And so those small steps go far beyond any medication that woman is going to take. And so feeling validated, feeling supported, feeling taken care of is extremely important. So thank you for that question.
One more down here.
I don't need that.
You don't need it?
I can't speak.
For which one of our
First
speakers?
of all, thank you for this wonderful, thank you to you and to organizers and to you ladies for coming all the way from Michigan. And this was 3 different separate but so much interconnected. It was wonderful. I mean, most of us, we already, read and we think that we are aware, we know everything. And it's every time I go to one of these kind of programs, no, there is no way to know everything. If there is always something we are missing. What I want to ask you is, lately I have been reading a lot about brain health. How do you relate that to all these things? Does it mean just a memory type of thing? Or I feel like it's all interconnected. It's, in fact, every issue that we, during International Women's Month or International Women's Day, we talk about women issues, awareness raising, all that. It looks like all those issues women everywhere in the world facing has to do with this mental brain. I feel like it. Am I right? I just want to ask.
Yes, you're very right. As medicine has always considered up to now that the brain work in a vacuum and body work on its own. But every action we do, every thought we have, every emotion we feel has direct effect on our physical health, right? Lisa would agree, Dr. Abbasi would agree. And so what happens, when we are, and it starts in the womb, as Dr. Abbasi mentioned, that when you are pregnant with a baby and your husband is berating you, for salt, is excessive in the food or whatever, that baby is feeling the emotions in the womb just like that woman's heartbeat is raising, and she is feeling helpless and fearful and worried about, am I going to be punished for it in some way? Imagine every emotion that woman is going through, the baby is receiving that, correct? And so the baby is in the womb is reacting to that by heartbeat changing. We know that, we can demonstrate that. And when that is happening, the development of brain is happening, so in the very early stages of the development of the brain, and that affects the development of brain of that baby, right? And so when you talked about that hurt men hurt, others, this cycle of mental health, this cycle of abuse, it continues. It's never ending. So going back to that, when we are suffering any kind of trauma, being bullied in the schools, family trauma, marital discord, physical, sexual abuse as a child, all of that. Our hippocampus and amygdala is making a diary of it, correct? And some of those memories these are small brain structures, but they define our adulthood, because those memories impact our brain development in far-reaching way. Every decision we are going to make down the road, the children of an abused woman, every decision in life they're going to make is going to be based on their experience as a baby, or as in the womb, or as a elementary school child or a high school child in that household, about how their parents reacted to that moment, correct? So not only is a learned behavior and modeling by that child, but also how his brain reacts to that in that moment. And there's no control over that. We don't even recognize how they are reacting to it. So much before the baby is born, the pattern of the life a baby is going to have is already blueprinted, correct? And the only way you can change it is by taking corrective steps, correct?
I can add just quickly. So one more thing we are realizing, be it diabetes or any mental illness or anything, that 30% it's genetics, 60 to 70% it's the environmental influence. So let's say somebody has been exposed to trauma during pregnancy, the fetus, but the fetus has genetic vulnerability to depression or high cholesterol or diabetes. It might not express that gene if he or she gets support and structured environment, supportive environment. They might not express that disease. But if they are further traumatized and insulted, then those genes express. It could be cancer genes, it could be depression genes. So I think the take-home message is that the stress at any level should be understood and kind of treated and coped with.
I have one follow-up question.
Yeah.
If we have time. How can we then bring the other partner into this conversation? I mean, we're talking among ourselves, getting more aware, getting more knowledge. How can we, like fetus, I mean, how can we make them also know about this? Man, I'm talking about,
Yeah.
How can we bring them into conversation without offending or without, making them feel
We saw the Council General was forced here, right?
No, the Council Generals always leave because they have those phones and they get something important.
Yeah.
No, but I would if I were, because just for us to be comfortable with the conversation, but how can we bring them?
So I will give you my personal example. My husband usually, comes with me in these kind of, especially if I have to drive across the state, I usually trust him more. And I do this kind of presentation a lot, and one of the presentation, he was with me, and when I was talking about it with examples, after the presentation, he came to me and said, you know what, we had a business, and he said, that employee, so-and-so employee, young woman, when you were talking about this, she was coming to my mind because she would behave certain way, like, don't come on work or leave early or get very emotional, lay by and get angry, this and that. And she said, I'm feeling so bad that I was disciplining her and telling her that she cannot do this and that. Now I realized that she was pregnant and she was going through it. Now, that come to him at certain point when I have done this presentation for a long time. Why? Because it has something which connected him to that, right? So talking about it in different ways, not making about yourself, but making about certain other things may help. But generally, if it is, when I see these women, I ask them to bring their spouse, and we talk about it. We talk about what she may have been going through, which she cannot explain. Now, is it 100% understood and it is reverted? No. But having some understanding that pregnancy and delivery itself, imagine if somebody is going through the labor pain, or this is a C-section or something, it's so traumatic, right? I think we need to understand, and I tell you what, I think women are more likely culpable in this than men are, because the mother-in-laws, the sister-in-laws, the neighbor women in Pakistan, everybody expect you to be cheerful and joyful in pregnancy, and if anything is going across the line here and there, the pregnant women get blamed for being showing, tantrums or something like that. So I think men would be more likely to listen to us if the environment around those created by those women is somehow, is like my own mother says, well, you are too finicky. We have, I had 8 children and I never had this problem. And I said, Mom, you had a lot of support there, right? So changing of the mindset is important. It takes a couple of generations for us to kind of get to that level.
Also, as mothers, we should be doing that to our sons.
Yes, exactly.
Educate our children, and secondly, sons particularly, and taking your husband, spouse to your prenatal and postnatal visits. Talk about them.
Yeah.
Always keep on talking about what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Always take them there, and if they are not going, tell them about how it happened. Just keep on, pouring things.
Keep doing.
First thing first, to educate yourself.
Exactly. Without we don't know, how can we educate them?
I think each one of us have to make a very conscious decision. Are you going to be part of the problem or part of the solution?
Exactly.
The change starts with you.
I think that would be.
Like that.
So again, a loud round of applause for our speakers, Dr. Kareem, and Dr. Farah Abbasi. I also want to thank Dr. Jameen, and Dr. Arfa, because these two are the ones who really wanted to make sure that these guys got to us here in Chicago.
Yeah, and Dr. Abbasi from Kalamazoo.
All right, Dr.
Another
Abbasi, another Abbasi. Okay,
Are they from
thank you, Michigan.
We want to thank you to arranging.
No. And thank you to Khalil Pai, who's always here for us. Thank you for being a huge part, a supportive part of Pakistani Ladies Association. And I don't know where our sound gentleman went, but Tariq Khan, thank you also. Thank you everyone for being here. Take care of yourselves, take care of your emotional health and physical. Bye.